Hello everyone, Mabel here from the development team at the Orlando Museum of Art. Thank you for joining us for the October 1st Thursday's preview show for At the Table. This Thursday, October 1st, we will have extended hours, a live DJ, and First Thursday sponsor Sam Flax in the building. A big thanks to our other First Thursday sponsor, Public Supermarket Charities. Make sure to vote for your favorite work by a local artist at omar.me/People's Choice. Works are on view now through Sunday, October 4th. To review some of the works and discuss the intersection of food, art, and identity, we're going to turn it over to Kendra of Edible Orlando and Faiyaz from Orlando Weekly.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My adorable dog is asleep in another room, so it's just me and Faiyaz today. And Faiyaz, I'm going to let you tell our audience about yourself and your role at Orlando Weekly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Faiyaz Kara. I am the restaurant critic at the Orlando Weekly. Been doing that since 2006, and Orlando Weekly is our local alternative weekly, presenting news and all kinds of entertainment-related factoids for the alternative audience.
Awesome. And I am Kendra Lott. I'm the publisher of Edible Orlando magazine. We are currently in our 10th year of publication, just celebrated our 10th anniversary. And we shine the spotlight on local food, local chefs, and seasonal ingredients in Florida. So we've got, whereas Faiyaz handles the restaurant reviews for his paper, we talk more about what the chefs are doing with local farmers, things that readers can do utilizing local ingredients, and basically every aspect of the food system here in Central Florida, including the artisans and the farmers, as well as the chefs. And if you're wondering why you've got two food media folks here hosting today's live stream, that's because of the theme of this First Thursday's call for submissions, and it's At the Table. And At the Table is a particularly resonant theme now in times of where many of us have been quarantining for several weeks and perhaps not dined with family and friends or even gone to restaurants, the way that we used to. So during this, how do we breaking bread? How does that build relationships? And within the context of a national reckoning on racial injustice and inclusion overlapping this time, what does it really mean to have a seat at the table? That's the literal table and the metaphorical table as well. And those are the themes that the artists are going to be exploring in their works. They're going to be telling us how they're expressing identity through art and making connections through those art. And of course, you'll be able to preview all of these online as well. And we'll run that along the ticker to show you how to do that and vote on these ultimately for the People's Choice by October 1st. So more information at omart.me/First Thursdays. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off and start looking at those first pieces and share those with you on our screen, along with the artist's statement as well. Our first work by Maricela Rodriguez, and of course, embracing her heritage and sharing pride in her roots through two images, actually three total we have from Maricela. First being an acrylic on canvas. And while it doesn't state Maricela's cultural background specifically, I'm definitely getting a very, very tropical vibe from this, and the beautiful hat with, I see papaya and pineapple here. Faiyaz, what are you thinking of this one?
Well, I think the overt reference here is to Carmen Miranda, right? Of
yes.
Brazilian Portuguese descent, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think the interesting thing in these works is, I guess the history of Carmen Miranda, who, she popularized samba, right? And I think before that, samba was often thought of being this vulgar African type of dance. And she being white, she popularized this dance that was once considered vulgar. And so that is like an interesting sort of angle, dimension, in the context of where we are today in the world. So
now, was Carmen Miranda the actual Chiquita Banana lady, or was she just the inspiration for the Chiquita Banana lady?
I don't know. Was she the actual Chiquita? She might have been.
Yeah.
Maybe it was inspiration. I don't know. But
kind of a trope back in the day, but here we have a more contemporary version of
Yeah, it's interesting to see that come back almost like full circle, but still resonating with everything that's going on today. Like, so that was the part that stuck out for me, was this interesting choice, Carmen Miranda, given like how it's almost like Eminem or plenty Elvis, all these white artists who popularized something that was black.
And we see that so much in the food world as well, with fusion cuisine. And there's a big reckoning in the food world right now in terms of a white or Western person bringing, a food culture or a cuisine to a largely white audience. So,
right. And issues of appropriation and all that sort of stuff too.
Exactly. And here's a more abstract, version of that same, fruit lady, which I love the title, Tutti Frutti, lightens it.
And not to mention the fact that she has food on her head. So this is a very overt works that that tie into the at the table. I mean, she literally has a table of food on her head.
Even a fish.
Yeah.
Even a fish. So, and then our next artist does speak specifically to her roots, traditional Azeri and Uzbek culture, and very literal symbol there, the pomegranate, which is a symbol of prosperity. Looking, again, very traditional, but speaking to that, food being the building block of that culture.
Yeah, and pomegranates being a very like a staple item in Central Asian and Persian cuisine, in Turkish as well. There's I think it's the H cuisine down on
Sand Lake.
Phillips, Lake.
Mm-hmm.
That they incorporate pomegranates, I think, into their salad. When I reviewed them, last year, we had the salad, and I just remember, I think it was like a pomegranate vinaigrette, and it was so. Mm-hmm. It was unique in that as you're eating it, you get these little pops, of the pomegranate sort of exploding.
Nature's boba.
Extra. Yeah.
So, and then in the next one, and I'm seeing that this piece has real jewelry attached to the canvas. Which we can't see on the screen, but you can certainly, if you choose to go and see the works in person at the museum now through Sunday, I believe, you can really appreciate that mixed media aspect of it. And then, of course, in this one, you see the silk tangle, incorporating the Silk Road, which, of course, was not just where we acquired silks and those sort of things, but spices as well. I mean, so much of the cultural traditions that are food related also came via that Silk Road.
And the incorporation of Islamic architecture in the background there as well, and speak to the cultural aspect of this.
So some very strong women so far, and yet another one in this next piece by Amy Henkel, who is describing the table as life on the planet, and argues that many of us don't have a seat for many reasons. And Amy asks through her piece, both through her statement and through the piece itself, why are we still here?
And like in terms of Central Florida, like why is it that 1 in 6 people are food insecure? Why is it that 1 in 3 children go to bed hungry? I mean, these are things that should not be happening. It's certainly not in like the richest country in the world. I mean, so I get that, and you see the pile of trash in the foreground of this piece, and you think, oh my God, look at all the food waste that's produced, and yet people are still going hungry. And I know there's numerous chefs around town that are like tackling the food waste issue. I know Hari Pulapaka has done a lot with that. Either reusing food scraps for like broths and stuff like that, or taking all that food waste and like sending it to a farm for for cattle feed or pig feed, or just like recycling it back into the ground. So right. It's a very topical piece, and to see, I mean, it looks like are those flames there as well, where everything.
Yeah, and I'm so taken by the posture of the three humans in the piece. I mean, it almost I can't tell if they're mired in the waste or lifting themselves out of it. And beyond it, they're the way that they're holding their bodies is very.
Right. Yeah, really, that's true. Yeah. It's a very provocative piece, I think.
I agree. And this next one by Sapphire Surveillant, Tragedy in Rain. So talking about archetypes of young adulthood and the chaos, which it embodies. Those are some chaotic kitties right there. And I see the title itself, The Persistence of Belle's Memory, a play on the persistence of memory. It's a famous Salvador Dali painting.
But it's also, when I see these cats, it's like I'm seeing her looking at the cats. She's drug abuse is one of the things that's tackled in this painting, and seeing everything not being clear, and then, but also, for the at the table portion where she's saying at the table is a place where family gatherings are most valued and cherished. I think now, whereas before, when you're at the dinner table, you're not necessarily discussing topics about mental health and drug abuse and this sort of thing. But now I think these are topics that they're no longer taboo, and they're topics where I think one of the messages is that it's okay to talk about these things at the dinner table,
And I love in the background, either the human, I can't tell if it's a human or a cat on the screen in the background, which is such a common, not just the use of screens in general, but specifically within the past several months, where so many of us are home together and looking to find spaces for ourselves apart from the family, and just sort of get some quietude.
Yeah, there's a stir crazy aspect to this as well. Looking at the cats, and maybe the cats are going stir crazy too. They want to get me away from these humans.
So in the next work, We Can Do It, collage on canvas, and some very, iconic images there, the two women in the left-hand corner. But the artist here moved to Orlando from South Florida at the beginning of 2020. So a newcomer who has really yet to be able to find a place in this community because it shut down so quickly after her arrival. And she's originally from Argentina with family from Italy, but she's also an American citizen. So that's bringing a really interesting pastiche to this work as well, which is also a pastiche. And I wish I could read the words, the blurbs in the back there. I'll have to go and see that.
They almost look like documents. But this one really spoke to me because, her opening line saying, "I'm not from here, even not from there." And this one spoke to me because of my own personal heritage, being of Indian descent, but being born in Africa, then in Tanzania, then moving to Zaire, and then from Zaire to Canada, and then from Canada to here. And sometimes you feel you're, like I'm a man without a country, but to put a positive spin on that, many times I feel like I'm more like a citizen of the world as opposed to a citizen of one particular country, and personally breaking down those barriers of nationalism and that sort of thing. Although friends of mine would say that I'm the most proud Canadian around. So so it's kind of interesting because the people will say that Canadians are usually more patriotic when they leave Canada than when they're in Canada. Like when you're in Canada,
I often joke that I didn't become a Southerner until I moved to New York. I'm from the Orlando area. I'm from Seminole County, and friends, that also grew up in the area with me, joked about, not knowing how to really define that. But I didn't feel any sort of Southern heritage until I moved away.
Yeah, right.
To the Northeast, and that's when I, felt the urge to, make black-eyed peas and collard greens and all of those things because no one had it. And also Central Florida, to those who aren't from here, don't really get any sort of distinct feel from, what our culture is. Florida's not the South. Orlando's definitely not the South, but it is, and it can be, and we're much more diverse than many people realize.
But it takes a while to reconcile all of that within you. Like for a new immigrant, they go through a lot of these issues within themselves. There's a lot of introspection before there's an ultimate reckoning or reconciliation, which comes many, many years later. And even then, it's still an issue. And I don't know if issue is the right word, but it's something that you're constantly working from within yourself.
And here the same collage method in this next one as well, with more of a masculine feel. Almost looks like he's sitting on the end of an airplane wing, or that iconic photo of the men sitting with their lunch pails, like up on a girder in a skyscraper in Old New York.
Yeah, in Old New York. But there's this fragmentation, right? A disassociation, a fragmentation, which I think really speaks to the emotions and the feelings that the artist is feeling. Being somebody
and
really,
also such confidence in the posture of the human, subjects in the piece, in both of them.
Yeah,
just looking straight on and proud and standing tall.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and here we're moving on to photography and addressing, the racial injustice aspect of this call for submissions in this work by John Ruggiero. What did you think of this one, Faiyaz?
Well, this speaks to what's going on right now, right? I mean, and to tie this into the at the table aspect, we see, food insecurity, how food insecurity, really plagues people of color, marginalizes those who are like, living below the poverty line. And really, these are like, it just speaks to like, these issues should not be around today. They're really food justice, which, is a movement that plays off of food insecurity. I mean, it's telling and it's sad. It's very contemporary. It's now, and it's like really, it's a reflection of what's going on right now. And I think he has some other photographs, right, that really, and this showing all the victims, but, just to speak to, these are the victims who have been like, essentially murdered. But we don't really talk about the victims who are, those who are still victims of food insecurity, to tie it back into at the table. And that's, again, it's a sad situation. And this last photograph is like probably the most, the most moving, to see this child holding this work and then revealing what's underneath the American flag and seeing this Confederate flag. It's, it's a very powerful piece.
Yeah, and not just in bringing that back to the table as well. And it's people like this young boy in the photograph who were the most susceptible to food insecurity. And that's, since that's a term you've been using, I want to, define it for viewers who might not know what that means, as opposed to, hunger. Food insecurity means not knowing where your next meal might come from. You might currently have access to food, but you're unclear about having, similar access later on, either because you can't store it, or don't have a vehicle to obtain it, live in a food desert where you can't get fresh fruits and vegetables or even healthful food at all. You're relying upon, perhaps a, convenience store and what they might stock in terms of nourishment, to use the term nourishment very loosely. But, this young child, it's very moving from both that level of having to look at that sort of image as a young boy.
To have like a young child hold up such an image, and then seeing, it looks like the Klan member has a gun to the child's head. And the child is like offering, I can't quite see what that is, but offering something, I think non-threatening in return is, it's moving. It's a moving piece.
And then some more mixed media work, which another that I would love to see in person, but back to the more literal, looking at home and community. And, we've all certainly been spending lots and lots of time at home. I know I'm in my home and you're in yours right now. And that's probably more the norm than it has been, for, taking a long, hard look at surroundings. But, I can see where the artist asks literally, not just in the statement, but in the piece itself, what does home mean to you?
Yeah, and I think now we're all going through this this exercise of introspection when we're at home. It's like, God, I haven't been home this much in like ages, and people are finding, that's a time to reconnect with family, and a time where they're all eating at the same table, and maybe in a really, really long time, and having discussions about this and that and that and this. And I know a friend of mine who didn't particularly have a very good relationship with his mother, has spent like, I think the last 7-8 months with her. And I think his attitudes and feelings towards his mother have completely turned around, and I think it's because we're just spending a lot of time with each other. Of course, it goes the other way too, where people are like just, getting sick of each other as well, and getting
Not in our household. So we love each other. And this second piece by the same artist, Linda Kusuma, also the vertical aspect of it, where we had the house on the rocks in the first image, and was it teetering or was it rooted there? The same with, with this, to me, it looks secure, but, yet also very distant.
Yeah, because I mean, the house is clearly not on those stilts to the right hand side anymore, right? Like for me, I saw it like it's come down, or maybe some people, raise and elevate the notion of family and home, and others, break it down, or maybe that's the result of us being home so much.
And I'm seeing now that the title is Firm Foundation, which of course, can have a double meaning, so she's definitely created that. I mean, foundation is, mental foundation as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And then here, of course, just the homes separate, the structures separate from one another. But those look those don't look like the same. Those definitely look more individualized than the other homes. Those lack the connection that the homes had. And I think
but there's something written on all of them, I think.
Yes.
It says, gosh, I can't quite read that.
A reflection of you.
Reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other one of the vertical buildings, there's lettering on it too. So I think this, again, I think it speaks to this whole idea of introspection and what people are thinking, and maybe the feelings and emotions they're going through as they bond with their families again, or stay in their physical houses again. Maybe just getting to know their physical homes again. Where. And this one really speaks to that as well.
Right. Now we get to go inside.
Yeah.
And hiding in my apartment. It definitely see that the artist is, ill at ease with her piece at being home.
Very much her statement says it all there.
Yeah.
I don't like my current living situation. These companions bring me and their online following much needed joy in a rather joyless time across the world. So
yeah,
and I think a lot of people are going through this. They're seeing their, disheveled kitchen rugs, and there's still trash, and there's dishes on the counter, and she paints this with this sort of like kind of like this opaque veneer that that almost clouds the picture and makes it
it adds a grimness,
dirtier. Not
unempty trash.
Yeah,
I know. This is very much after a few weeks, as opposed to early on when we were all cleaning, I think, being really tidy obsessively, and
then it's letting it go to hell.
Yep, just letting it. I feel it. Oh. So here we have a literal table, but in a very abstract piece, trio at the table. And so artist statement reflecting the culturally fighting times that we are facing as a society, being accepted and recognized as human beings. So these people all have a seat at the table, but yet don't look together.
But I looked at the three works here, right? And I think they're all tied in. So right here, we're seeing a divide, three people on either side of the divide, and now they're together, and you see five faces looking at the one. And to me, that's like, I'm listening. I'm looking at you. I'm engaged with you. I'm listening to what you're saying. You see all the figures are different. They look different, but they're listening to the one. And then you see the next one, and you see there's only from six people, there's now only five people. There's like a different person at the head, and now only like four people are looking at that one person, which tells me that, again, these are other people listening. That one person may have dropped out because they didn't like what they were hearing. They may have been listening and engaged, and with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, that's what people, I think, are trying to do, is to listen and try to get the perspective of Blacks and African Americans, and maybe that one person dropped out, didn't like what he was hearing or she was hearing, and so I kind of saw this as a flow from the first initial painting where there's that divide to when they come together to when they're really starting to engage and people are forming opinions.
And perhaps the person, who from the second image who dropped out decided to let someone else do the talking, which is something everyone should do once in a while. Okay, and this one asks the question very first up: is it a toy? Is it art? Let's explore that before we go on to the rest of the statement.
What is art?
Is it art, or is it a toy? Does it have to be one or the other?
Well, I mean, if the artist, submitted this work to the Orlando Museum of Art, I'm assuming the artist, saw it as a work of art. But for us, the spectator, the viewer, what are we seeing? We're seeing this very contemporary robotic android type figure, is sort of masked in all this '90s, black '90s pop culture, hip hop names, and artists and such, R&B album covers. So I don't know. It's like what are those? I'm trying to think of that term. Where you put newspaper on stuff with the
paper mache.
Paper mache, yeah. It kind of reminds me of paper mache. It's a collage. It's a pastiche. You were saying earlier. It's but it's specific to Black culture. And I think if you read the artist's statement, they were talking. He says something to the effect that
we talked about those vinyl collectibles.
Yeah,
we all see, that everybody, those limited collections, limited editions with mainstream designers, but not many designers of color.
Right. Yeah, they're rarely offered to the people of color. So maybe this is their attempt to, like, my sister-in-law just got all the Schitt's Creek figures, and I'm thinking, why isn't
I'm a little jealous already.
Yeah, why isn't there one for Blackish, or why isn't there one for like other, like, African American shows? Because everyone seems to really dig these little figurines. So
yeah, no, and I think that as we scroll through and look at these sort of inequities, I want to just take a moment. I think we're having some technical difficulties. We were hoping to hear from a representative of Meals on Wheels, etc., which is based in Seminole County, and I had invited them on because they are always in need of volunteers to deliver meals, and you can look at mealsetcetera.org for information on volunteering for delivering meals, which goes very much beyond the nutritional value of these chef-prepared meals that seniors receive every day, because oftentimes, even before we were entering this time of increased isolation due to COVID, that visit and that meal drop-off may well be the only human interaction that a senior would have in a given day. And breaking bread together is so important for mental health. And Meals on Wheels does an amazing job of serving these seniors and giving them not just food and nourishment, but a time to talk about their day with a familiar face. And I think it's just an amazing opportunity to include our seniors in this community. And that's often something that does not discriminate due to race or income. We're all, with any luck, going to be seniors someday, and due to various circumstances might need that bit of assistance. So any of us who are able to volunteer now and contribute to the communal and social aspect of food and mealtime for a senior, please do look to Meals on Wheels at visit mealsetcetera.org to learn about how to volunteer. They are conducting virtual training, at this point, and they're always in need of folks to brighten somebody's day, and they do great work. So let's see, moving on to George Stewart's work, Nothing Fits. Yeah, I'm taking that one real literal myself after my gluten diet of the past several months. But I think the artist is being metaphorical here. But I'll let you share your reactions to this piece, Faiyaz.
Yeah, I took. I was looking at it from a mental health perspective as well. Like, just when we think we have all the pieces together and life is good, something comes along and things start to fall apart. The pieces start to fall apart, and our task is to sort of catch those pieces and try to fit them back. So I think a lot of people are experiencing anxiety and other mental health issues as a result of COVID and as a result of social injustice. and it's a very it's a very troubling piece. When I saw it, I was like, whoa, this is probably the most visceral visceral reaction in me, and it's probably I would say it's my favorite piece.
Yeah, and I think that the piece makes me wonder, before that point in the image, how many pieces of that puzzle have fallen through the subject's hands already.
Yeah, yes.
Now realizing, that, it's fallen apart.
No, that's a very good point. Yeah, it's a troubling piece to look at, but I can't stop staring at it.
Well, I think we have a guest here ready to join us. Faiyaz, if you'd like to introduce him.
Yes, we're about to be joined by Chef Chow Trin. Hey, Chow.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hi,
Good
Chow.
morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Chow,
thanks for being here.
he's the chef and owner of Sushi Pop Winter Park and Sushi Pop Oviedo. And, Chow, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Sushi Pop in Oviedo, that's where we initially started about 12 years ago. Thinking out of the box, thinking about doing something different for sushi, and especially sushi in Oviedo. It's a sort of a sleepy town, but we knew we wanted to do something unique, really focus on the fish and focus on the quality of the fish, and also focus on the different vegetables and produce that we can get locally. And that's we've been very, very fortunate. The community has received us so well. We're sort of Oviedo's comfort food now, which feels it's fantastic.
Yeah, Chow, I have to say that Sushi Pop was one of the first restaurants that I visited when I moved back to Central Florida in 2010. And as a Seminole County native, hearing the words sushi in Oviedo.
Well, there was a point where we were serving like fried chicken rolls and like alligator just to, I don't know, warm people up to the idea of sushi. So there was a slow give and take a little bit in our beginning years. We had to really show people how, or teach people how to eat sushi. And as slowly as they were, as we were gaining the respect and the trust, we could be more adventurous. So little by little, we gained a little bit more trust. They became more adventurous. And so we kept pushing that envelope until where we are now, which we can just, almost we can just do about anything. And people are like, yeah, okay, I'll try it. The food here has always been good. We've always had a good time. So, we're going to give this a try.
Excellent. Well, definitely Sushi Pop is one of my favorite places to gather, which is a good segue into this next piece by Beth Jewett, who's bemoaning the loss of not being able to gather, with family and friends through this piece, Doorway into Thanks. So
She
I'm hearing your reactions to that.
I think in the artist's statement, she says she's been praying in silence during her meal. And I think it just speaks to so many people who are alone at times like this, and they may be in a small apartment, and just this thought of being alone, and maybe just the idea of self-introspection is a painful one. And we talk about the nice things, being around family, but those who are alone, it's a pretty painful time as well.
Oh, absolutely. And so going back, I believe that we have Chef Delano with us. I'll know when he pops up on the screen whether or not that's the case. Oh, yay, Chef. Welcome.
How you doing?
Wonderful. We've got Chef Delano Lambert-Claire for Meals on Wheels, etc., which also has a catering operation, Top Hat Catering, located inside, which is another way that you can help fund that mission of Meals on Wheels, because the proceeds from their catering operation are a really big lifeline to supporting it. And as with so many eateries, caterers, etc., during COVID, has suffered greatly from the many cultural community institutions that they serve not being open. And Chef, I'll let you speak to that, as well as, some specifics as to how many people you're feeding, how many seniors count on you for their services.
Seniors alone, we do roughly about, just in Seminole County, about 600 meals a day. But we also cater to daycare, schools, private schools as well.
Mhm.
So we do
Mhm.
roughly about 3,000 to 4,000 meals a day,
Mhm.
breakfast, lunch, snack. So yes. But definitely our catering division has definitely suffered from this pandemic and kind of have to shift gears. But a lot of the things have been switched to unitized and pre-portioned, especially even for our seniors too. Even their community churches and centers where they used to gather together to eat
Mhm.
lunches now gets moved to we're delivering straight to their homes.
Okay, so some might have previously been able to enjoy a meal communally, and now it's just that interaction with the volunteer. And since we're doing a call for volunteers for Meals on Wheels, what might someone expect from the volunteer experience? You know, how many homes might they
Basically,
deliver to?
yeah, you're given a route depending on where it is, whether it's like we're obviously Seminole County, so it would be whether
Mhm.
Longwood or Sanford or whatever. And usually, there I think the longest is probably like 8 to 9 stops, but there's some that are shorter because a lot of people donate their time, their lunch hours, so like 5 or 6 stops, maybe something like that. And usually they're like really close to each other, so usually you can get it done in like 30 to 45 minutes. The longer
Okay.
ones, yes, can be a little bit long, like an hour. So.
But they can, if they have the time available, you know, take that time to connect and chat with the senior they're delivering a meal to.
I
Correct?
think I missed part of that.
Oh, just if the volunteer does have a little bit of time, they can spend that with the senior and connect
Yes,
with them.
yes, yes. We right now we've opened up a little bit more. Before, during the actual pandemic, we weren't allowed anyone to go into anyone's home or anything like that, face coverings and everything. But now we're kind of a little more relaxed. But we still want to be precautious and wary. And if you're not comfortable doing that, we put all of our seniors usually have coolers outside their houses, so you can just drop off the food if you're not comfortable going in their homes and anything like that.
Okay, no, that's great. And I know that we talked briefly. I know that you're from New Orleans, which has certainly got a lot of food and different food influences from different cultures, as well. What do you? I mean, do you through the menus? Obviously, nutrition is first and foremost, in your, what you provide for the seniors. But are there any cultural elements to a meal that you might serve? Might you appeal to different parts of?
Well, I mean, yes, I definitely put some of my New Orleans flair into my cooking, even for the menus for the seniors. But I try to make the menus very broad and all over, so that we have Asian to French to New Orleans flair to Southern cooking, Latin, everything. So I try to encompass all of it. But I definitely, like, this month we have jambalaya on the menu. We have chicken etouffee and things like that. That's typically New Orleans meals. And we do like a New Orleans bread pudding for sometimes for the seniors. I don't add the whiskey sauce to it. It will just be white chocolate.
Add a little spark to their day. That's great. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate. You're welcome to stick around and look at the art with us. I don't know if you have to get back to work, but Chow's going to stick around with us as well, so you're welcome to do so.
And feel free to chime in on what you think about these artworks.
Yeah, let's go on to the next one and see what we have here. Okay, very much in tying with our at the table theme. And if in a perfect world, yes, indeed, we would all be welcome. And I love the title, "May I Serve You?" But the fact that the I is not present in the picture. Faiyaz, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, of all the works we've seen, this is the most overt reference to, I think, the at the table theme. But I think what's presented here is an ideal, and something that's very perfect. But again, there's like this sort of this cloudy veneer to it that almost tells me that the perfection is almost attainable, but not quite. And the "May I serve you" part, I think, also speaks to everything that we're seeing that's happening today, as far as social injustice as well. Because some people say, "May I serve you?" They'll say, "No, you can't. You can't serve me. I don't want somebody like you serving me." So I'm interested to see what Chow and Bolaño think about this, because being people of color, it brings like a different perspective to seeing these works.
This definitely reminds me of home back in New Orleans. The picture, I would see a lot walking down Royal Street or something like that in the French Quarter.
Yeah, and another one that, to your point earlier, Faiyaz, that's a sort of, it's not quite perfect. That's not quite a perfect, like the slice, but just that sort of oscillating perspective.
At first blush, it does look, there is this element of perfection too, but the closer you look at it, you're like, no, maybe not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, in a perfect world, I'll welcome. It's definitely not, to your point, not a perfect world.
Right.
Keep approaching the same questions and problems.
And this one, it's saying cake is for sharing is the title, which is, it's almost like the artist is admonishing us as children, saying, you need to share, stop hogging everything for yourself, which, you can, that's metaphorical on so many levels, from, the income inequality, the gulf between rich and poor, et cetera, et cetera. And you see the color, the cake itself is a multicolored sort of cake, almost like saying, oh, this color's at the top and this is in the middle and this is at the bottom. And it's sort of like, kind of playing to that as well.
And so many childhood arguments around cake. There's only 4 corner pieces. There's only so many pieces with the rose on it, and those are the,
Yeah.
Okay, next artist, Gordon Hansen. So back to some photography here, and his intent is to show how much we don't know about one another, and I would say that accomplishes that.
Yeah, there's 3 things going on here. There's like the driver that's looking straight ahead, and a cop almost is looking at him with a smirk on his face. And then off to the right, you see like another officer giving somebody a ticket for something. And then behind the back seat of the car, in that background, it looks like there are two black gentlemen engaged in some sort of conversation, a very heated conversation, as from what I can tell. And then the fact that the photograph itself is black and white,
Yeah, the smirk is really eerie.
Yeah, the smirk is eerie. He's not inviting him over for dinner, I don't think.
No. And finally, we get to talk about your T-shirt, Faiyaz.
Yes, the original. A friend of mine who I think is viewing today got me this shirt as a gift, so thank you. And but maybe like Chow, maybe this is a good time to just talk about your cultural background and how the food you grew up eating, because I know you have you had that Chow House component to Sushi Pop Winter Park, where you offered some of your home cooking and your mother's home cooking during the lunch hours.
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I grew up with amazing cooks. Everybody was a great cook in my house. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins. I really didn't have like bad food per se until I started dating my wife, who is my girlfriend, who is my wife now. And my mother-in-law, making like meatloaf, and I was like, "What is this? This is what I don't even know what this is." There's like ketchup on it, and it's like hard as a brick. But a lot of my influence comes from memories of my childhood. That is certainly the base of where I cook from. Vietnamese food really touches on all the spices and the balance of food. There's citrus, there's the freshness of the herbs, there's the different noodles, the fat from the soup. So it's all of these things that have really taught me how to balance when I cook.
What sort of emotions are aroused in seeing this particular work?
It kind of makes me smile a little bit, because you have to be Vietnamese to understand what really good, or you have to have a Vietnamese mother's cooking to understand what really good pho is, right? And then you have this huge company, Campbell's, producing this, this thing that we feel is the holy grail of Vietnamese food in a can.
Yeah.
So that's what it makes me laugh a little bit. It's humorous.
You can get good pho in a can.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? This is something like David Chang would make, and then he would open it up and pour it out and serve it to you, and it would be amazing. And you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of this before? It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, that's good.
So is there another can in this series? I think I saw one in the original.
I think there might be.
Oh no, okay. I'd seen a can of menudo in the original.
Yeah.
Pho made the cut.
Yeah.
I'll cut it. But, oh goodness. Okay, so shameful ignorance. Yeah, that's Metro 2020. I think we said, joking about this.
Exploding out of because of racism they experienced in Arkansas. Yeah. But this goes back to the reckoning. Like a lot of people are having these conversations now. She was ashamed of her family's ignorance and racism, or her community's, their racist and ignorant ways in the small town in Arkansas. And I think a lot of people are having these conversations now because they don't understand the Black Lives Matter movement, and they want to know what's the issue. I thought everything was good,
Mm-hmm.
So it speaks to the reckoning that we're currently going through, I think.
No, I think so as well, and it's notable that a young person was the one who experienced that, because the older that people get, they sometimes, oh well, that's just the way things were. That's just the way things were, Whereas, of course, like the piece that we saw with the young Black boy holding up that disturbing KKK image,
mm-hmm.
and how do you explain that to a young person? You really can't rationalize it.
Right.
And
I saw this to me. It reminded me of Rod Steiger, the actor Rod Steiger, who, funny enough, was in the movie In Cold Blood, right, which Truman Capote wrote. He was in the movie of, I think he played the cop in that.
Did he?
And that had to do with small town racism, so I just thought of that. So it was kind of interesting that, I mean, I don't think this is the actor Rod Steiger, but it reminded me of him, which reminded me of the movie and the book In Cold Blood. And yeah.
I loved this one, Into the Wind, because there's just so many ways that you could look at it. What are your first takes on that, Chow and Delano? I know Faiyaz has looked at it prior to this.
And Wilma Rudolph is the inspiration for this work. She was the sprinter in the 50s and 60s, right? Mm-hmm. Big sprinter. This is a test, guys. You're going to be graded on this afterwards.
There will be an essay.
Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. I was off screen.
Well, bringing it back to another literal table, or things that one might see at a gathering, some gourds and pottery gathering. I think gourds and the pottery are the only ones really gathering much these days, unfortunately. But the artist here says that she's created a birdhouse community out of those gourds, and refers to Kate, her stern but talented aunt. Doesn't everyone have a stern but talented aunt? I feel it's required for all families. But yeah, the transformation of something like white clay into pottery, and that's a very fall theme. I think we think of gourds, gourd season, cinnamon broom season, as my husband likes to call it. But as we think of fall, for the two chefs, with us, what are some foods that evoke fall to you? What are dishes that you like to create when it's finally not hot here?
Yeah, so we start to exit out of the citrus freshness of summer, and we start to go into more of the fattier, richer flavors of fall and winter. So I start to think about, it's kind of broad. It's along those lines. We want to bring in the fattier, richer fish from Japan that are starting to develop fat and really kind of oily almost, and that's going to pair really well with some of the different thicker and heavier sauces that we're going to be making in-house. So I think that's how kind of my mind wanders a little bit. And we've made some fun things for that, fall with cranberries and pumpkins. We start adding some Japanese flair to those already familiar flavors.
What about you, Delano? What says fall to you when you feel like cooking for yourself?
I love using me is it's definitely herbs, the rosemary and sage, and I'm definitely using like making a roasted root veggie mashes and things like that. Is definitely my part.
Yeah, I feel like we've like this summer since
we have a little misconnect. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, I know that in my own cooking, we always used to joke that it could be the middle 95 degrees in July and you could walk into my grandmother's house and there would be beef stew in the oven. And but now I kind of get that. Like when we're inside so much, like I will honestly wake up and go, maybe I'll make goulash today. When it's 100 degrees outside, like feel we've lost a bit of that seasonality, this summer. And, it's nice to get back, back to it. What about you, Faiyaz? Have you?
Soups. I love soups. Then again, I like soups in the summertime too. But paying Chow's restaurant a visit during the fall time is what I look forward to.
Soup all the time. Yeah.
Soup all the time.
You had me at fatty, Chow.
Yeah, I know.
It's a date.
It's delicious.
Oh goodness! All right, and some more photography. Evoking current events. Right now, and showing the strength that we still have. So some hope in these.
Yeah. Very, very topical. Strength and Reform, I think, is the title of this work. Mm-hmm. So, we're obviously not there yet, but there's a movement afoot that that will hopefully institute the reform that this country needs.
Yeah, I think it's a picture that many minorities can relate to. Coming over here, we were really poor. School was hard. We got bullied a lot as a minority. So we can relate in that sense.
So seeing all this that's going on right now, does that sort of almost arouse those painful memories again that you felt when you were in school being bullied?
Yeah, a little bit. I grew up in Fort Myers, population of Asian people. Very, very small. I think I was usually I was one or two Asian kids in the entire class. Of course, we use our legal name, so that was easily being used to make fun of you. All the little things that kids do. So when I was young, I knew from a very young age that we were very different from everybody else.
What about you, Delano? What is your background, your cultural background?
Well, obviously, I'm growing up in New Orleans, and my mom is white, French and Yugoslavian. My dad is Honduran and Jamaican, so very mixed. And being blessed, being raised in New Orleans was such a melting pot of America. I didn't experience so much racism, but I saw it. I always felt that I was the mediator, I guess, so to speak, always trying to bring everyone together. And I pretty much had it pretty good, but I also think that I blend into other cultures a lot. A lot of people confuse me as Italian or whatever it might be. So I guess I'm the mediator.
Right. Interesting.
Well, this next one, where the cats are a very recurring theme in this, and in this one, I want to say The cat
Not-
looks as over it as the human subject.
This looks like my daughter's cat. My daughter's cat is an orange cat named Cinder, and that looks exactly like her, pretty much.
Imperious, silently judging.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're the bosses around the house. We do everything and anything to please them, which I don't even know how it even happened. It just one day it just did, and now we're these slaves to these cats.
Who are in some ways, I think, a little ticked to have us as much as we are. It's confusing to them.
I'm on them.
They're like, "You're still here." That's what I imagine my cat saying to us every day. It's like, "You again?"
Yeah.
It's titled "Just Me and My Cat," and so I think this speaks to this is how lonely some people feel as well. You know, it's I don't know. Self-portrait. I mean, it's me and my cat. So I'm assuming it just me and my cat. So I'm assuming it's the artist's self-portrait. But yeah, a lot of people, again, I think in previous works we've seen this theme of loneliness and being alone during this time, and how it can be kind of painful and I don't know, maybe in some cases boring. I don't know. I think the next work also shows that, where she's just got nothing to do. So there's this ennui that's sort of present in this work. I just don't. I'm tired of looking at my phone. I'm tired of watching TV. I've got nothing to do.
And that's such a classic pose too. For classic works of art, but with the eyes closed. Think of was it Manet's Olympia, where it was so daring because the woman who was clearly maybe a prostitute, who knows, but the fact that she was being so bold as to look directly at the viewer. This woman can't even be just bothered.
And this one here is clothed as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how many works we have left to race through, or have we reached our end?
I think we might have.
I think we might have. So I think we'll remind everyone. Well, first I want to thank our guests, Chow and Delano, and it was great chatting with you as always, and just want to remind everybody that the artwork is on view through October 4th. On Thursday, October 1st, there will be a live stream featuring more detailed footage, of the work, and also be sure before then to vote for your favorite, because that Thursday live stream is when the Best in Show and People's Choice Awards are going to be announced. So you'll see running on the screen where you can go, and of course you want to vote at omart.me/People's Choice. And again, thank you. And if there's any parting words you want to say, or just the proverbial double wave, but thank you for joining us today, both my friends on camera and everybody watching. And of course, this will be streamed throughout the week as well.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.